What's up, everyone? It is Lizzy Eject, Lizzy from Comment. Lizzy, always keeping it real, while others keep it counterfeit. And you have entered the Smart Dumb Girl podcast. Yeah. Episode 1. And this episode is called A Trip Down Memory Lane. But before we get started, we want to give thanks to God. Now, this is not a theological platform, but this is a platform that recognizes the Most High. So first, I want to take a second to recognize our Creator. God, I want to thank you for this mic I'm speaking on. I want to thank you for the words that are coming out of my mouth. I want to thank you for the air I'm breathing. I want to thank you for the floor I'm sitting and standing on, the chair I'm sitting my butt on, the roof over my head, Lord. I want to thank you for the rain, the clouds, the sun, the moon. I want to thank you for everyone who's listening to this. I want to thank you for my good moods, my bad moods. I want to thank you for the good people, the bad people, the good things, and the bad things. We want to thank you for the lessons, Lord, and we want to thank you for the blessings. So I want to take a second for everyone who's listening. And before we get into this episode, I think it's important that when you come to the Smart Dumb Girl podcast, that you get a piece, just a piece, or a moment of peace. So I want everyone to close their eyes. This is not a prayer. And I want you to think of something that makes you happy, something positive, something great, something pleasant. It could be something that people know or something you only know yourself. And I want you to sit in that for 10 seconds. Yeah. So now I want you to take that with you. I want you to carry that with you when you go out in the world and you deal with the 1/3 and all their tactics and ways and messed up plays. And I want you to think of that. So now that we got that out the way, the subject of today is a trip down memory lane. Now, what inspired me to do this episode, because originally the first show was going to be about hypersurveillance, which would be the second show. The second show will be about hypersurveillance, and if we are complacent in it, and all the different facets about it. But today we're going to take a trip down memory lane. I wanted to take this opportunity to have people be able to understand who I am and what I am about. Why did I curate and create the Smart Dumb Girl podcast? That is the question. Am I just another niglet who wants to hear herself talk? Am I just a person who feels as if I have something to say? Or is there a deeper meaning for my presence here today? So I want to start from the very beginning. I am from Advance, North Carolina, a small town 20 miles away from Winston-Salem. I was born to a writer and to a wise man. As a child, I didn't have much stability. Just like most Black and brown children, I was a victim of neglect, abandonment, and just came from parents who had trauma that they were not even aware of. I moved around to maybe 8 different places before I was 16 years old. And I had a brother. My brother went to school, well, actually went to wilderness camp, and he ended up going to a military school. And my mother thought, oh, well, guess what? I get to send my kids off to be educated, and then I get the free time I need if I put them in boarding school. So the first boarding school I ever went to was called Piney Woods Academy. It was in Mississippi. It is no longer in existence, but this is in 2002, 2003, where racism was still very popular if you were below the Mason-Dixon line. So I was called a nigger the first time in my life at 12, 13 years old. I bring this up because I remember seeing the white man at the fair. We went on a field trip, and it was a group of us, and we were just being kids, having a good time, you know what I'm saying, and laughing and giggling, and a Caucasian family walked by, and it was a man. He had a look in his face as if he could kill us where we stood. And I looked at him, and he called us niggas. Not N-I-G-G-A, N-I-G-G-E-R. That was the first time where I realized, oh, I ain't gonna be disrespected. But as a child, those are just inclinations, they're thoughts. You don't understand what that is making within you. So at Piney Woods, I got expelled. I didn't like it. Before going to Piney Woods, I told my mother that I wanted to go to an all-black school. Why? Advance, North Carolina is a city where it is predominantly Caucasian. My first best friend was Caucasian. My first teacher, Caucasian. I was one of the 2 black students in my elementary school. The other black student, his name was Jonathan. So when my mother came to me and said, hey, baby girl, you want to go to boarding school like your brother? You pick it. I made sure I picked the blackest boarding school I could find. Yet and still, I went there, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. So then I ended up going to a school called Oak Hill Academy. Shout out to Oak Hill. Shout out to Oak Hill. Shout out to them. A great institution. I went there and I fitted in wonderfully. It was amazing. I met one of my old childhood friends, Lisa, there. This school was great. This school is the school Carmela Anthony went to. A lot of basketball players went to Oak Hill. I met Mos Def's brother at Oak Hill. I was very cool with him. I met a prince of Nigeria at Oak Hill. I actually dated him, but actually we didn't even know then. This is the funny part, that, he was making it seem like he was the prince of Nigeria. Everyone at the school thought that he was the prince of Nigeria. Like, we thought, like the whole Nigeria. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't understand that there are many princes in Nigeria. But nonetheless, I built very great relationships there. I became a woman. I understood who I was. I found my identity. But that trauma was always lurking in the abyss. So I go home for Christmas break. And at that time, my mother was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My brother at the time was playing for University of Michigan. He was a Wolverine. And my mother was living there following her son. So I was staying in Ann Arbor for Christmas break because I was staying with my mother. And I was so excited about going back to Oak Hill Academy that I packed my bags 2 weeks early. We all know how that is when we're kids and we're ready to go back to school or ready for the first day of school or ready to go do something we're really excited about being a part of. No, we are ready. We got our outfits out. We got everything lined up. And I packed my bags 2 weeks later, only for my mother to say, you're going back tomorrow. And the next day, you're going back tomorrow. Then tomorrow will come, you're going back tomorrow. Then tomorrow will come again. you're going back tomorrow. Again, the trauma lurking in the abyss. This trauma is called lies. Lies, mistruths. So I sat as a child anticipating getting back to my friends, my community, my loved ones, and most importantly, my education. But I was being lied to, saying, you're going back to everything that matters to you tomorrow. Well, it never happened. It never happened. I ended up staying out of school for a whole entire year. In that year, I lost my virginity. In that year, I gained weight. In that year, I lost important advancement in my education. Remember, I didn't mention this, at Oak Hill Academy, I was on the A-B honor roll. A-B honor roll. So that year of me being not only miseducated, but uneducated, was literally a flower being uprooted and thrown to the wayside. Now, I want to sit in that for myself and for others because I want to talk about what that year instilled in my life when we're talking about the trauma that all of us have to deal with in some way. That trauma showed me as an adult that lies, mistruths, untruths were prominent in my family. Because in that year, my mother made me lie to everyone about me not being in school. Just like any father would do, if a child is staying with a mother, a father will call their child and say, hey, how was school today? And my mother will whisper to me, don't tell me, don't. And I would say, school was good, Daddy. And I did this for a year, even to my other family members who my mother was hiding that I was not in school to. So that year went by. Finally, like all lies, the truth came out. And I went back to North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina specifically. I stayed with my father and my stepmother. Now, that's something else I want to sit in about childhood, and maybe at a later date, because there's an overall point to me going down this memory lane. One, for people to better understand my experiences and who I am, so you can hopefully, if it's inside of you, exercise compassion before you exercise judgment. But I'm going to surpass certain details so we can get to the meat and the potatoes. I went to Southern Guilford High School in Greensboro, North Carolina. My father was a very secure, stable provider. Now, he had a wife who was not good to me, but that is something we're going to further unpack in other episodes when we speak about trauma and we speak about the roles of women in children's lives, whether it be your biological children or your stepchildren. But that was another time period of extreme psychological, mental, and spiritual trauma. Nonetheless, a year or two in, my mother calls and she says, I want Elizabeth to go to a boarding school. This boarding school is right down the street from you, Perry, which is what they call my father. And I think it'll be good for her to go. This boarding school was called Oak Ridge Military Academy. I went to military school for 2 years. Even went to the summer program. Woke up at 5 a.m. for formation, ran around the whole campus 5 days a week. Hence my love for exercise in addition, my father's love for sports and my brother's love for sports, I end up being a person who enjoys sports and enjoys working out, which is something we'll talk about in the life of that and how it's been affected in my trauma. I go there, and I had a friend who I was very close with. And one year, she didn't come back. Now, in a collective of me, already being out of school for a whole entire year, losing, again, stability, what is normal to me, I went and followed this friend. And we went to Charlotte, North Carolina. After that duration, my father came and got me, and I ended up going to Darlington School in Rome, Georgia. Now, again, I got exactly from Darlington what I got from Oak Hill Academy. I got a community, I got loved ones, but what I don't have is the discipline or the wherewithal due to me, again, moving so many different places, and in addition, being out of school for a whole year. So I went to Philadelphia. Now, we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes right here. From Philadelphia, I got to New York City. I came to New York City with my family. My mother's side of the family is out here. And very, very quickly, I got into the hip hop industry. I have been in this industry since I was 18 years old. My first 2 weeks being in New York City, I met an artist named Kevlar. If you're from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, you know who I'm talking about. Shout out to Bed-Stuy. Shout out to Bed-Stuy. Shout out to Bed-Stuy. And Kevlar was a rapper. He had a DVD. He was very ambitious. He was out here doing his thing. And so he went into our early demise. He had a beef or a riff with Uncle Murder and his crew, and he was shot on Fulton Avenue, and we know how that story goes. But from the very beginning, I would make phone calls for him. He would give me a list of stores to call for his DVD to see if we can get the stores to buy or make a purchase for his products. And I would be like a secretary for his DVD, and I would reach out to stores and speak to them. And honestly, he gave me more opportunities than I would even take because I was such an entitled and unfocused young girl, but I've been in the industry for a long time. Then at the age of 20 years old, I met a person, a man named Arliss Michaels, who introduced me to Hall of Fame Studios in Queens, New York. Shout out to Hall of Fame. They renovated Jam Master Jay's studio. They had a CD store. They would have guests come through. They would have all types of different walkthroughs and events. And I really met a lot of people during that time of my life. And understand, social media was not in existence then. So I want to be clear about, the God been lit since before social media was here. So when people who are not used to not having a third party be the reason of their success or of their notoriety, they don't understand a person like me. But back to the story, because we're going down memory lane. I worked at Hall of Fame, and I had an inclination that, I want to rap. I want to rap. I've always been a poet. Tupac Amaru Shakur has been one of my favorite individuals in this world since I was a child, including Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. And I always was a writer because my mother was a writer. So I said, you know what? I think what I want to do is rap. And it was such a great platform and such a great community at Hall of Fame that they gave me a choice. They had all these different women who they were trying to put in position all these different people, a collective of individuals that they were putting in positions, and they even gave you a choice. They said, Elizabeth, forever, what do you want to do? Like, you could either rap or you can model. And I was like, modeling? Nah, I'm trying to blow. Like, you know, like, I want to rap. You feel me? And I called my brother. And when I called him, my heart was filled with joy and expectation of how proud he was going to be of me, because I made a decision about what I wanted to do with my life. And I even connected the dots to make that dream come true. But oh, was I mistaken? I called my brother for him to curse me out and tell me, you are fucking weak for wanting to follow your dreams. Now, we all have people in our life who their opinions of us matter. Now, I can only speak for myself. There's only not even a handful of people who I give a darn about their opinion. But at that time, he was the main opinion I cared about. So when I was told I was being weak for wanting to follow my dream of being a rap artist for a situation that was contingent to Jam Master Jay's studio and other individuals who had access and resources to help me do so, although it made sense for me to move forward, my respect and honor for him made me say, well, I guess I model. So I modeled. I was managed by Jazzy Bell. Shout out to her. I mean, that's all love to me. I can't tell how anyone feels about me, but I love you. I have no problem. Anyone who ever gives me an opportunity, I will never have any hate for you. I don't know how people feel towards me, but I know I don't got no malice. So I was managed by Jazzy Bell, who had a close relationship, which Hall of Fame did, with DJ K-Slay. Shout out to DJ K-Slay. The Drama King is in the fucking building. The Drama King is in the building. So I had all of the resources, just like if I decided to rap, I had all of the resources to be a model. I was on Smooth, I was on Squeaks, I was on the cover of Straight Stuntin'. I was there. But from the very beginning, it wasn't what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was be an artist. So when I had to deal with the work hazards of being a model, the negatives of being a model, it wasn't for me. And everyone knows, if you were an urban model, what they are. It's the access. It's the lack of boundaries. When you're a model, people come with a preconceived notion when you are an urban model that they can touch you or fondle you or they have a chance with you. It's very sexually transactional, and it just was not for me, because from the beginning, it was not my truest desire. So I said, I'm done. I went on a show, DJ Superstar Jay's show. Shout out to him. You can look it up to this day. I went on the show, I said, yo, I'm done with this shit. I don't like it. It's not for me. It's too objectifying. I don't rock with it. So I had to make a decision. I had to say, yo, E, what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? You gotta do something. You have all these contacts, all these resources, all these different, avenues and connections that you have to exercise. So I made a decision. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go into PR. I'm gonna do public relations. It's my type of jazz. I get to play the background. I get to put connections. I get to help people. I get to do projects and be creative. I think that is for me. I'm not objectified. I get to exercise my intellect and show how intelligent I am. I get to put things together and build, and I'm not using my body and sexualizing myself to further myself. I'm using my mind. So I did PR. And the first person I worked with in PR was Tone Bird from Team Nova. Shout out to him. Now, if you ask him from what I'm being told, we got problems. Shit, I didn't know that. Now, what I can say is, when I first started, I was very ambitious, like very. And I was really hungry, and I didn't want to be doing the same shit forever. Ironically, look, I didn't want to be saying like, nah, you know, like we're doing this for 10 years, I ain't with it. And sometimes you have to understand, when people are putting you in positions, like Robert Greene says, never outshine the master. So I think I had an issue when it came to Tone Berg, where I outshined the master a little bit, and that relationship dissolved. I don't remember what I did or what I said, but it dissolved. What I can say, I remember, I had a partner, his name was Oren. He was a Jewish Israeli, who was my business partner. And we were able to acquire a lead to doing one of the first events at the Barclays Center. Shout out to the Barclays Center. Now, you can fact check all this if I'm lying. I want people to listen and be like, you know what, she's lying. If you think I'm lying, go ask these people. We acquired a deal with the owner of Temptations. It's a club in Brooklyn on Church Avenue, and I think in Flatbush. It's no longer there anymore. But he was doing an event with Rick Ross, and I believe, was it Rick? It was Rick Ross. I know he was the headliner. I don't remember the other people. Maybe Oren remembers. Cut him up, ask him. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, right? Busy man. So we got this situation, and in my regular, normal form, I called Tone Berg to include him in the situation because you're the one who allowed me to get my feet wet in public relations. So I'm the type of person, whoever gives me opportunities, that's who I'm reaching back to include in everything. But for some reason, unbeknownst to me, he was already in a vibe of, well, I ain't fucking with that. And I remember calling him and saying to him, like, Tone, like, I got the situation, and I really want, can you help me out with it? And he was too busy trying to disprove that it even existed, that one time he was at the Barclays Center, he called me, he said, yo, forever, I'm at the Barclays Center, I don't see no Rick Ross event on the lineup. I was like, Tone, I told you I'm speaking with the investors. So that was the beginning of the end of our relationship. You have to ask him about what I did. I don't know. Maybe I ain't give up the twat. I don't know. I don't want to assume. I just know it dissolved. But in the interim, while I was working with him, I came across Twin from THISIS50.com. Shout out to THISIS50. Shout out to THISIS50. Shout out to 50 Cent. Now again, I don't know how any of these people feel about me. I'm just telling the truth. I'm just telling the truth. This is a trip down memory lane. So I did a series of showcases. I planned a series of showcases. I project managed a series of showcases. I got artists to be featured on the website. I assisted. I put projects together. I even did some work for 50 Cent's energy drink. Even had a real estate mogul named Anthony Lolly. Shout out to Anthony Lolly. Shout out. That's a real one right there. That's a real one, I ain't gonna lie. Anthony Lolly is a real one. I even had him do a commercial at his Bay Ridge mansion for free. Now, I want to make emphasis about everything I'm saying, anything I did for you, for people. It was usually for the low. It was usually something happening where they didn't have to allocate any funds, or I was the one getting the funds allocated. So, I did some work with them. And while that was developing, I ended up working with COKEBOYS Wear through COKEBOYS Wear Cam. Shout out to COKEBOYS Wear Cam. That nigga. That nigga. You know what? I'm gonna save that for a in-person conversation because I ain't gonna go in. So I ended up working again, building websites, organizing photo shoots, editing pictures, allocating, third-party individuals to get projects done. Just a plethora of things, doing inventory, spreadsheets. And I have to shout him out because he allowed me again to get my feet wet when it came to the administrative end where I had to learn different things and even made some mistakes too, but he rocked with me, we got some things done, and we ended up working with each other for a very long time. But it's not about the time, it's about the quality, which we're gonna unpack that at a later time. I'm not gonna be a nigga on the first episode and go in about all my negative feelings. I know that will probably get more views, more attention, and more everything else, but we're gonna chill on that and we're gonna stretch it out. So I worked there, and I think this is where things got murky. Prior to me working there, when I was put on an assignment, I was like a sniper, right? And if I went for the play, a lot of times the person who put me on the mission, as long as I came back with what they asked for, then the situation would go through and we would complete the project to the best of our ability. But what happened when I worked at COKEBOYS was he would send me out to do projects, to put plays together, and then when I came back with the product or with the production, then we would not follow through with what was the original plan. And when you are the liaison for an individual, you end up getting the brunt of the responsibility. So if he told me that I have to go, my phone's ringing, 1 second. If he told me, Elizabeth, put a photo shoot together and get the clothes, get the models, and we're gonna pay them $500. This is hypothetical, but it's around the same thing. And he told me to go do so. So I go, I get the photo, I get the photographer, I get the clothes, I get the models, and he changes the date. Or I go and I get the clothes, I get the models, and he says he's gonna pay the photographer $500, but then when all the work's done, he says $250. I have to deal with the brunt of that. I'm being blamed for the brunt of that, even though I am not the one who's making the final decision. So that was the beginning of a lot of miscommunications, a lot of bad transactions that wasn't even on me. Now, I want to talk about BSB. I want to talk about Banger. Shout out to Banger. Yo, for real. Yo, rest in peace, my guy. Banger for life. Edgar McFadden, my best homie. There was times when COKEBOYS Where It Can will put me on a mission, put me on. One time I will never forget, he wanted his website up in 24 hours. It's a true story. Bro, this is a true story. And I don't know if Shanduke remember this, but I was in his house with someone named O, and we was working all night trying to get COKEBOYSWhere.com transferred to another platform. In 24 fucking hours. So I went on dummy mission after dummy mission after dummy mission after dummy mission, and a lot of relationships were soured, not because I was making propositions and not keeping my end, no, because who I was working for was making propositions and not keeping their end. Now, I'm not saying a nigga's a bad person. I don't know. People change. Things are different. I don't know, right? I don't know. What I do know is I want to give this story about a situation that happened. When people question my loyalty, when people question my character, I start scanning my past. I start looking at situations that happened that I had to hold it down. I had a decision to make. I could have been rich a few times If I would've just did a few niggas wrong, that's a fact. So I'm gonna give you a true life story that happened. So I'm working at COKEBOYS, and it's Fashion Week. And I said, you know what? I have this idea. I'm like, yo, we should be in Fashion Week. I brought the idea to him. I said, yo, let's do a Fashion Week event. I'll put everything together and, we'll figure it out. His first words that I can remember was, yo, how I'm gonna make money out of that? I said, I got you. We're gonna make you some money out of that. I said, how much you wanna get from it? He told me, give me $1,500. True story. I'm not lying. There's contracts behind this. I got contracts. He said, give me $1,500. I said, I got you, no problem. I give you $1,500. I went, like I said before, what I was good at was getting funds allocated. I knew how to, you had an idea? I had some person with the money for, I had someone with a bag for that. You got something you want to do? I know somebody with a bag for that. That was what I was good at. So I went to my investor. I went to a few of my friends. They're like, oh, well, I got a homeboy. He's trying to rap. He has an investor. He's willing to invest in this. Like, let's make it happen. We give him his $1,500. If you know anything about me when I did business, LIZZY, forever baby, she always did a contract. I didn't play like that. Shout out to me, because I didn't play like that. I didn't play. I did not play. Yo, listen, if you told me, yo, I'm giving you $20 for a Snickers, okay, I gotta go do a contract for that. Because, again, the industry is crazy. But everyone knows for a contract, you have to exercise it, and that was where I went wrong. So let's move forward with the story. I get an investor. We give him his $1,500. And now we're moving forward. We feel like, okay, we got the brand solidified. We're moving forward. By the time we knew it, we had So Fresh, which was Beyonce's stylist clothing line involved. We had a gigantic venue on 42nd Street. It just grew to an amazing situation. And so I guess COKEBOYS Wear Cam saw this and said, you know what, I want more money. Oh. But I'm sorry, this is true though. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? Don't shoot the messenger who's telling the truth. Shoot the messenger who's lying on you. You know what I'm saying? So, long story short, I guess when it was growing so large, it was getting so I was good at doing PR. That wasn't the question. Doing PR, I could get some SHIT done. So it grew. Everyone got involved. Bad Boy got involved. Everyone it got serious. Sponsorships was coming in. It got serious. So I guess he saw this. Maybe he was underestimating what I could do, but I don't really believe that because we're going to talk further about how long I knew this man. I knew him for a very long time. So it wasn't like I just met him and he gave me a job. Nah, I knew him since 2009. So he knew, he's seen the growth, hence why he put me in position. He'll say it was some other reason, but the other reason is bullshit because he knew. So let's move forward. So he must have said I see you getting bigger, I want more money. I say, oh, it's too late for that, right? For real, it's too late for that, but what I would do is, I would give you some of my equity. So, because it was equity. We were looking to make, this is a true story, I'm not lying. Please, if you think I'm lying, hit up Chris from Queens, and I think it was Devin, and ask them if I am lying. Just say, nah, she ain't lying. We were looking to make at least 200,000 plus. It was Fashion Week, okay? Fashion Week collectively made almost $1 billion that year, collectively. So we were going to make some bread. So I said, listen, it's too late for that, all right? But what I will do, I will give you some of my equity. That wasn't enough. That wasn't, it wasn't enough. So by the time we finished, he called the whole deal off. Now, it wouldn't have been an issue of him calling a deal off if the investor didn't already put, I believe, almost $7,000 down on the venue. It wouldn't have been an issue if we didn't already collect sponsorship dollars and already started promoting the event. It wouldn't have been an issue. It wouldn't have even been an issue if there was an actual reason as to why he did not want to do the event. The only issue was greed. The only reason he did not want to do it was because, well, let me say this. I can't say why he didn't want to do it. I just want to say what I got from it. What I got from it was I felt like he was trying to sabotage me. Because at the end of the day, though, I was a person where I almost overgave. So if you already signed a contract, I could have just said, yo, nah, fuck that. You ain't getting shit. You signed a contract. Yo, we suing you. I still offered my equity. I said, you know what? I'm getting equity. I give you a piece of the equity and you're good. Like, I don't have to go back to my investor trying to get more money. Now, if I remember correctly, and I'm gonna fact check with Chris and Devin, I'm gonna try to get in contact with them for another show. I almost think I came back to them and asked them for more money for him. I almost think I did that, you know what I'm saying? So, long story short, the event gets called off. The investor loses his deposit for the venue, I believe so. And they're ready to sue him. Now, this is where I get a little confused about Forever, AKA Elizabeth, AKA Liz, is a bad person. Because I did what most black men asked of black women. I covered him and protected him. I begged my investors not to sue him. Begged. I didn't even give them information so they could not sue him. I covered him like he was my child. And in result of that, I lost and burnt a valuable connection. An investor lost dollars. He kept his $1,500. He got his money. Did he give it? Or did he give it back? I don't remember. Did he give it back? I don't remember. Let me not say that. Maybe he gave it back. Maybe I remember this wrong and give it back. I don't know. But the investor lost their deposit. So now they're ready to sue. They're ready to sue, and I'm covering and I'm protecting. So the moral of the story is, when you sit here and you tell me or you tell people that I'm a bad person, I ain't shit, I deserve everything I'm going through, I deserve the karma, I don't understand. So now we're gonna go to another situation. Robbie Nova. Shout out to Robbie Nova. Shout out to Robbie Nova. That nigga can sing, okay? So I was working with Robbie Nova while I was working with Tone Berg, and you know, we had a great run and we made a lot of great shit happen, but he had a little bit of fear about being signed. I realized that. He had a bad situation and he was a Virgo. I would never forget this because I have a cousin who I love dearly. He's a Virgo, and I remember like seeing similarities in Robbie and him, and we worked together. But here's another story where I'm like, oh, I'm a fucked up person. I don't understand. Because I told you, I could have been rich a couple times. This is all true stories. So at the time, prior to loving hip hop, I was very cool with Cisco. Shout out to Cisco. I met Cisco at a Tone Berg event. Tone Berg had an event with an artist, I think it was some artist. She had a dope ass song out. I forget, maybe later on, I remember, I do my research and I will let you guys know. But I went to an event, I met Cisco, you know, we rode out nice, got to know each other, went out or whatever, and you know, we started working with each other. Well, we're not working, just, you know, hanging out and shit. So long story short, he knew I was working with Robbie Nova. Everywhere I went, I was always, every single time I went anywhere, whomever I met, whoever I was working for, I was pushing you. I was pushing you, I was pushing you, I was pushing you. So I'm around Cisco. He's working with Uncle Murder. He has a record label, I thought he did. And so I'm telling him about Robbie Nova. So we have a meeting, me, Robbie, Cisco all have a meeting over at the studios in the city. And I think Robbie left. And Cisco says to me, He said, I'll sign him and give him what he wants if you cut out Tone.Bird. He said, I'll sign him and give him what he wants if you cut out Tone.Bird. And do you know what the fucked up, non-character, bullshit, trash Elizabeth said? I said, nah, I ain't doing that. I can't do that. I don't even think he would do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Another opportunity for me to get rich, I chose loyalty and character over. So when people say, oh, so she ain't shit, I don't be understanding. So let's continue this ride down memory lane. Let's keep going. So we move forward. I'm working with COKEBOYS. We decide that, you know what? I never gave up on COKEBOYS webcam. I kept on going back. It was like a bad relationship. You know what I'm saying? Oh, shit. It was like, I was a real ass clown. I'm gonna keep it real, bro. I was a real ass clown. I kept going back. I mean, every time that he would let me down or tell me he was gonna do something or would do something and the situation would go sour, you know, and people would be mad at me, I would continue to go back and try to salvage something. But when you work with somebody for like 5, 10 years plus, it's hard for you to walk away from it because you want to see it come to fruition. You want to see it be fruitful. You want to see something come out of it. So here comes another idea. He says, you know what, I'm going to make up for that Fashion Week show. What we're going to do is, we're going to do a pool party at the Gansevoort. Shout out to the Gansevoort. Shout out to the Gansevoort. I'm like, shit, I'm with that. I'm with it. Shoot, that even sounds better. That's how he said, yo, you know, I'm going to get Rick. Again, here go Rick Ross again. No disrespect. Shout out to Rick Ross. Gotta keep on saying his name. But it's the truth. You were in the conversation. I'm only saying it because you was in the conversation. So I'm not trying to, this is just the truth. I'm just going down memory lane and telling the truth. So help me God. So he said, I get French to come through, I get, Rick to come through, and it's gonna be lit. Let's get the Gansevoort, let's do it. So you know me. I'm a dog by mine, I'm on it. Let's go make this shit happen. So we're putting it together. It's coming together, and Chinks dies. Rest in peace, Chinks. Rest in peace to him. He dies, and he's like, nah. He's like, hell no, nigga. We ain't doing shit. We don't know where this shit came from. I remember this like it was that. We don't know nothing. We gotta be still. We can't do nothing. So another project, another dream deferred, dissipates into the universe. Gone to never be seen again. So, I still continue to work there because I'm loyal. Unbeknownst what people say, I am very loyal. People like to make it seem like I'm not, but down this trip of memory lane, you're gonna realize, nah, you're a rider. You're a rider. So, I always was a person who had different connections. At the time, I was working with COKEBOYS where I was working with BSB through Banga, and I was working with GS9 through P Gutter. We ain't shouting that nigga out. Ain't no, I wish I had a boo on here. But I had a lot of different, pots viewing, so I wasn't really, I wanted COKEBOYS Where to be, like a situation that worked because I knew him for so long. So again, I'm very loyal. He may say different, but if he really sat within himself and was like, nah, like she wrote out for me, nah, she did, she wrote out. He'll be like, nah, she not loyal. Like she let me do anything. Like she let me OD or I OD'd on her. Like, but a lot of people can't admit when they do you dirty. I understand that. So I ended up working with GS9 through P Gutter. And we threw events, and there was a friend of his that was working with Tory Lanez. Shout out to Tory Lanez. Free that man. Free that man. And the guy was it Johnny Gills? Johnny from Brooklyn. Well, shout out to Johnny. That was my guy. That was my guy. Like, I rock with him. So I'm working with P. Gutter. We do an event. The event was amazing. It was great. It was everything it was supposed to be. I mean, go on my Forever Baby page, scroll down. That shit was bananas. So I had an investor. His name was Andrew. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Andrew. I had an investor, his name was Andrew, and he was like, he always was open to investing and helping. He was like a business coach. He was amazing. I met him through Jazzy Bell. He was just great. So he was like, I'm investing. Like, you doing your thing forever. And like, I had a great event. I wanted to invest. So we have a meeting at this fish restaurant. If you're from Brooklyn, you know there's a fish restaurant. If you go past King's Plaza, there's like this restaurant on the left-hand side if you're going towards like Rockaway Beach or whatever. So we go to this restaurant or whatever, we sitting down, Johnny Gill's there, he's there, and Gutter's there, and it's the investor. It's the investor. Now, these people are telling you I ain't shit. I'm not shit. I'm a horrible person, and everything I'm going through currently is karma. All right, let's unpack it, right? So we're having this meeting, and he's willing to invest $10,000. Now, we're just doing an event. We're just doing a regular party. You know what I'm saying? Maybe throw some showcases, some spots. He said, I'll give you $10,000. Gutter decides to curse me out. I'm sitting here befuddled, like, what? Huh? Like, all I think I said was I contributed to the conversation because at the end of the day, I am literally the bridge of this situation, so I can speak. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to be silent. And I must have said something that he felt like I shouldn't have said, or he felt like I was gonna mess up opportunity. I don't fucking know. I can't even put it in logic, because you would think if the person who is putting the situation together is speaking, you would listen, right? Because the only reason the money man is sitting at the table is because I'm sitting at the table. But nonetheless, he decides to curse me out in front of this investor. If I'm lying, ask Johnny Gill, ask him. Hopefully he'd be a real nigga and say, nah, she ain't lying, that happened. Like, I was there. He was trying to tell him to calm, like, bro, gotta calm the fuck down, bro. Like, blew the whole deal, he was kind of interested, but by that time, I wasn't interested. I'm like, oh, fuck this though, we're not doing this. Now, I would understand if I was fucked up if I cursed you out at an investor meeting. I would understand if I was messed up, if I had no decorum at an investor meeting. I would totally comprehend that, but that was not the case. But moving forward, we still continue to move forward in business. Now, just like the recidivist this nigga is, he went back to prison, right? And most people, when you go back to prison, niggas ain't fucking with you. But Elizabeth, in her fucked up ways, her non-loyal, flaky ways, I still was doing business with him. I still was working with him while he was in prison. And some of you may be asking, how you did that shit? How did that work if you're in prison? Well, I said, you need to get a liaison who can represent you, and me and that person can work with each other. At the time, he had a girlfriend who is not his baby mother, and he put her in charge. And oh, was that a fucking mistake? So now, we're working together, we're thinking about doing a brand called Shmoney, which is like a work off of shmoney, and we're working on it, we're putting the pieces together. Mind you, don't nobody got no money over there. You don't got no money here in prison. She don't got no money. But here I go, again, allocating, even after you don't curse me out at an investors meeting, here I go, while you're in prison, still trying to put some pieces together for you. So he puts a liaison together, and at the time, I was cool with Cameron from Dipset. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to Killer. Shout out. So basically, I don't know if it was, I don't remember the occasion. It was some occasion, but I was over there chilling. Niggas was minding their business, you know. And so, long story short, I invite her over to where we were at. You know, I invited her, I said, yo, come through, rub shoulders, meet, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a chill vibe, but come through, you know what I'm saying? So, mind you, first off, sis got there OD late. She got there OD late, right? In addition, she comes drunk as shit. She pulls up, music blasting, fucking screaming out the window on some crazy, wild shit. I mean, the shit was OD. It was crazy. So mind you, Cam's sitting like, he's sitting there like, yo, you need to tell her to be quiet. Like, these white people will call the cops on her. Like, this is not a fucking game. Like, you need to tell her to lower the fucking tone. So I go out there, I'm trying to calm her down and shit, trying to let her know, like, yo, sis, like, yo, you in the suburbs, you need to chill. Come to find out, she drunker than a skunk. Drunker than a skunk. She comes in this man's space that I am at. Again, you come to where I'm at, me trying to put you on, trying to get you to have conversations and rub shoulders with the right people, and you sitting here talking about I'm fucked up, but you come here fucked up and cursing me out in front of the people that I'm trying to allow you to meet and rub and connect with. This happened. If you don't believe me, ask him shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, go ask her, yo, did the girl come there loud as fuck with her car in the middle of the night and curse forever out? I'm for sure, if nigga remember, because, people live life and forget shit. I'm for sure they be like, yeah, that shit happened. So when people talk about how fucked up I am, it kind of confuses me. It kind of gets me in a space where I'm like, yo, nah, nigga. So let me continue with this story. She comes through. She is drunk as fuck. She's drunk as shit, and she curses me out. I'm like, what the fuck? She curses me out. And then she leaves. She leaves. Now, the drunk bitch, she didn't get kicked out, she left. The drunk bitch crashes her car, and I think goes to jail, something like that. The next day, a couple days, she calls me, she's like, forever, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, my bad. I was drunk. I was fucked up, my bad. And I'm gonna give it up to her, she did apologize. So, and on her behalf, I'm gonna really keep it real with her, I keep it real about her. She did hold it down and tell me, yo, forever, like, my bad, my nigga, like, I should not have done that shit. And most bitches and men can't do that. Most females and males, they can't just call me like, oh, my bad, like, I was wrong for that. That's hard for them to do, but she did do that, right? So I'm like, it's all good, don't worry about it. We continue. Actually, no, we didn't continue. I stopped fucking with her because that was enough for me. She came and that you came into someone's space that I really respected, and you really acted a fool, so I couldn't talk to you no more. Because I'm loyal, and you play with people I fuck with, I can't fuck with you no more. But let them tell it I'm not. So, long story short, Gutter gets out of jail. And I'm excited. I'm like, oh shit, my man's out of jail. We're gonna get this shit popping again. And I go to the studio, and unbeknownst to me, he's upset at me about the situation that happened at Cameron's spot. And I'm like, what? Huh? So how did I find that out? Well, he's in the studio, he gets in the booth, he starts rapping some, yo, forever ain't shit, this bitch is a motherfucker sucker, this bitch ain't shit, dog. I'm like, what the hell? Like, forever, what the fuck? I'm like, Gutter, what the fuck? Like, what I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you stupid bitch, you disrespected my girl. I'm like, huh, nigga? You talking about the girl who apologized to me? Huh? Like, really, you talking about the girl who was like, come to find out, Shorty went to tell him that when she went to Cameron's house, that I was trying to set her up with some nigga, and that niggas was trying to holler at her. Now, let's really talk about some real shit right now, because I have to say this, respectfully, I have to say this shit. Yo, bro, wasn't no one paying her no attention. Yo, we were in the kitchen by ourselves. So when you sitting here talking about someone trying to holler at you and like I'm trying to line you up with some nigga, what the fuck I look like? My homeboy is in prison. He has you as the liaison, and I'm trying to hook you up with some niggas. Like, what the fuck I look like? But that was the story she spent to negate the fact that before she pulled up, she was drunker than a skunk, and she didn't represent her nigga correctly. Now, I understand, ladies, you know, I'm a woman, so I tried to comprehend it, but it was very confusing to me because after that shit, I couldn't fuck with him no more. Like, I tried to a little bit, but it was very different because I was like, yo, how the fuck you up here mad at me because your girl didn't represent you correctly? And men, it's very important that if you are in a relationship and you saying that your girl gonna represent you, that you can't put it on other people for how she holds you down. She was supposed to come there sober and at least ready to have a conversation. I'm not saying it would have changed her life or anything would have happened, but at least you could have made a connection or made a good first impression. That impression she made was shit. So at the end of the day, how am I responsible for that? But that was in his mind that I was responsible for that. So that was that Doja sucker nigga shit that I'll be talking about with some of you people. It's like, I don't know who to really be mad about. But whatever, we're gonna move forward, right? So we move forward from that. That's kind of over, kind of sort of. I think the last conversation I had with him, well, before I left New York was, I'm going to North Carolina, you know what I'm saying? I got to handle some business. I didn't tell him that I got down the tumor in my head. That's another conversation. So long story short, I ended up doing an event at the Barclays Center through this Haitian club called Tanel. Shout out to Tanel. Shout out to Tanel. Shout out to Tanel. I ended up doing a Barclay event called Ballin' for Haiti. And I got that because I worked at this club called Tanel. It was a Haitian club. And if you know me, I always say I am Haitian by association because I love the Haitian community. I work with them very closely. I love Compa. I love their food. I love everything. I was literally like serenading in their culture working at this club. So, and I used their event, their venue for a lot of my events. Like I did my Poetic Justice. Shout out to Poetic Justice. Yes! That was like my baby. I did Poetic Justice there several times. And that's where we did poetry and songs and live music and events or whatever. MTV2, Q Butter. Shout out to Q Butter. Would come through and he would do the video and let us use the backdrop and it was just amazing. It was a really great thing. But long story short, I worked at this club called Tanel and I got really close with the owner, Jensen. Shout out to Jensen. That's it already. Shout out to him. That's my guy. Yo, listen, I fuck with Jensen, bro. Like, I really, really do. Like, I've been wanting to see him in the street. He was a really official person. He literally, the owners, this is more specific to like the Haitian community. The owners of the club were like a real big band in Haiti called the Phantom. So like I met the president of Haiti at the time. They had like all these different aristocrats and diplomats and all different people come through. Like it was amazing. So long story short, Jensen called me and told me that one of his relationships, her name was Rosa, she will not get a shout out. She was doing an event at the Barclays Center and they want to hire me. What? They put me on retainer. Now, let's talk about getting paid. Now, listen, I tell people, there's one person who paid me the most in my life, and it was a Jewish man named Sean. Shout out to Sean. Shout out to Sean. Shout out to Sean. He was from Israel. He had a furniture store over, was it Fulton? Oh, no, on Myrtle. He had a furniture store, and he paid me the most. But who paid me secondly the most in my life was the Ballin' for Haiti project. They had me on retainer, and I was balling out of control. And we had this great event. We put it together, and I brought in everyone who I knew from the past, the future, and the present. And I felt like it was very successful. We sold tickets. We motherfucking had a wonderful red carpet, a blue carpet. I had Darlene Mealy, a councilwoman. She sponsored. Shout out to her. Shout out to her. My client at the time, Willie, he sponsored. Shout out to Willie. Shout out to Willie. Yeah, and unlike Gunnar said, me and Willie never had sex. So I basically, it was a really great event, and it was a great look, and I don't really have much complaints. Now I worked on the event with Divine from Wu-Tang or from Life C Media. Now I'm gonna give you a shout out, but you be acting funny, so when I talk to you, I'll see how I feel about it. So we did the event, we put it together, and this is where I realized some of the bridges that were burned from my Coke Boy situation was being implemented. I would hit up like promoters like Hollywood Butter, and I would hit up different promoters, and they would seem very apprehensive about working with me. And so I already knew that there was a little spice in the air because of tone. I don't know what I did to Tone, and if you ever hear this, you need to tell me what I did. But I already knew there was that type of remnants, and then I also knew that people had an issue because, again, every time COKEBOYS.WE would put me on a mission, and he pulled out, I was the one being held responsible because I was his liaison. The only difference was I was a good liaison. Lizzy, I was a good liaison. It was him who wasn't handling his business. So, long story short, I take that back. He was handling his business, just wasn't handling it when it came to what him and I were doing. Because he ran a business, and any person who can run a business, I commend you. So let's shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't no one sitting there. I'm not gonna say he wasn't handling his business. What I'm trying to say is, like, when it came to the projects, I felt like he put me on dummy missions, right? So, long story short, we're working on the project, and again, I'm calling everybody. And let me tell you some things that went wrong with this project right now. I had a homeboy. His name, oh my God, do you remember his name, Liz? I don't, but he was fine as hell, right? He had a brand. This is the one thing where I know some people got mad about. He had a brand of hats, and he had a brand of his hats were fire, his hats was fire. He invested in his own stuff. He was from Washington Heights, I remember this. And he's on my Instagram because I was doing a show, and he was taking a picture. If you go on my Forever Baby Instagram and scroll down, when I first started doing my Facebook Live show, he was in the background. You can hear me in the background taking a picture. Like he's Dominican or whatever. He's fine and stuff. So long story short, I think I left his clothes at where we were hosting or where we were working, the office we were working out of. I left his clothes, so I went back thinking why would anyone take his shit, it's a bag of clothes and hats. Well, someone from the office we were working out from the project took his stuff. So I know he felt some type of way, and I'm I apologized to him profusely. I said, I am so sorry that this happened, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't my fault. Again, it will be situations where I'm in the middle, because when you do public relations, you are in the middle. You are literally a connection, and you're in the middle. So if one end or another end doesn't hold up or does something wrong, if it's not properly communicated, then you end up getting blamed for it. I know anyone who does any type of project management or public relations, they can she is not lying, she's freaking right. That happens a lot. So long story short, another thing that went wrong with the project was Rosa, the woman who was in charge of it, she was a bitch. She really had a problem with me. I'm sorry, Jensen, my bad. But she really did not want to pass the torch. And I've been trying to tell people, listen, you gotta pass the torch, man. That's how you keep your legacy. You pass that torch, listen, people, if you're dealing with right people like myself, listen, you pass the torch to me, I'm always coming back. I'm always gonna rock with you. I'm always gonna make sure that you're good. I'm like 50 Cent. And and if you Eminem, I'm gonna always be there. That's, you know what I'm saying? You know how Eminem passed the torch to 50 and 50 still running with, that's how I feel you should be. 50 doing it right. If someone passed you a torch, you're supposed to run with that shit or always come back and light them up too. You know what I'm saying? Make sure they're good. So I didn't understand how she didn't wanna, pass the torch to me. And it wasn't even a pass. It was we were working together. But she didn't want to have me involved for whatever reason. So that was one issue, because she was making things that were very simple, very difficult. You feel me? But nonetheless, I did my shit. Most of the sponsors that were up there, the two sponsors, you see the picture, if you go and do your research, if you're listening, there were 3 people on the court. Willie and Darlene Mealy came from EIP Unlimited. I got those 2 major sponsors who paid their money to be a part of that. So for a person who didn't want me to be a part of the project, I really did my shit nonetheless. So moving forward, we did Ball for Haiti, and that was good. Now I wanna digress a little bit. I wanna digress. Because prior to that, I was on Doggy Diamonds radio. Shout out to Doggy Diamonds, man. Shout out to my liquor. Now that's my motherfucking guy. Okay, I'm sorry, that's my bad. I got excited. My bad. Sorry, man. I rock. So I was on Doggy Diamonds Radio. I was co-hosting, and now let me tell you what happened so we can be transparent. This nigga has never did anything to me. So I want to be very clear that this is a situation where I can say I messed up, okay? I'm going to keep it real. Because, listen, I believe in accountability. I believe that you have to be straightforward. What's our time right now? I'm not sure what we got. You have to be straightforward. You can't be asking for accountability from other people and you aren't giving it. Now, I was working with him. It was an amazing experience. He literally was the reason that my Facebook Live show was as lit as it was, because the minute I was on his show, the amount of followers I got on Facebook Live and it was crazy. So shout out to him again, man. Shout out to Doggy again, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know the feds is listening. Hopefully he don't call and talk to everybody and try to like make situations worse. Because listen, the feds is watching. Hope said the streets is watching. He meant to say feds. Okay, so long story short, I'm doing Doggy Diamonds. And what happened was, again, I was overwhelmed because I was doing this project and I'm trying to do this radio show and I'm doing my own brand. I'm doing this and doing that. And so I said, you know what? I can't do this show no more. But yo, Doggy, I can throw you a couple of dollars, to do some promo on this shit. Now, I don't remember if it happened or not because I got kind of like caught up or whatever in the rush. But where I was wrong is like I stopped doing the show, like, because again, I got so overwhelmed. So I want to apologize for that, because that was what I will say, a situation where I was wrong about, where I could have dealt with that disconnection a little bit better. But nonetheless, it was a great experience, and because I got this Barclay deal, I had to kind of focus on that. It was a really big project. It was a lot to handle, and while I was doing it, I had to focus. So I want to apologize to Doggy Diamonds. Let's shout him out one more time, Doggy fucking Diamonds. Doggy Diamonds, bro. I was so upset when I came back to New York and he told me he was in Atlanta. I was like, nah, nigga, like, what the fuck? Like, I want to see you. Like, I was so upset, but whatever. Okay, so I did Doggy Diamonds, and then so I stopped doing it because I did the Barclay deal. After the Barclay deal, I said, you know what? My mother died from cancer. I want to do an event for breast cancer. And again, I was I don't know what to say. Acquaintance cool with Cameron. Shout out to Cameron again. Just give me another shout out. It's love, not touching. Am I lying? First, am I lying? She's not lying. So, long story short, I was like, you know what? His color is, his whole thing is pink. Breast cancer is pink. Let's put him on the situation. Now, that was not my intention the whole entire time I was talking to him. I just was in connection, and I thought about it. I said, this would be a great idea. So I proposed this to him. He was with it. Got my grandmother to give us a couple of dollars for the event. Okay? Got my grandmother to give half of the money for the deposit for the event. Yeah, she gave all of it, because it wasn't, I'm not gonna say how much it was, but it wasn't that much. So long story short, I am working and I'm on a date, and I secure the venue and I secure, him, and we got we have everything mapped out. We have the press release, everything ready to go. But I'm working, trying to get a couple of dollars. I'm on a date, and my head is hurting like shit. Like, I mean, my brain was booming, guys. It was crazy. So my date, it was booming so crazy that I couldn't even focus on my date. So my date is like, yo, bro, you need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, I need to go to the hospital. So our date ended up being him taking me to the hospital. So I go to the hospital, and they tell me, Miss Perry, you have a tumor in your head. I said, what? A tumor in my head, huh? What the hell? Shocked as hell. Had a tumor. So, and they said, Miss Perry, this tumor is on your pituitary gland, and it's leaning on your optic nerve. So if you don't get this out of your head immediately, you are going to go blind. Nigga, what you mean I'm gonna go blind? So I am now in an instantaneous panic. Instantaneous pain. I mean, I am shivering in my boots. I'm calling my daddy back to back to back. This nigga ain't answering. I call my stepmother. You know, if I call her, shit, it's serious. I call my stepmother. I'm like, I got a tumor on my head. Tell my daddy to call me. I give the phone to the doctor. The doctor speaks to my stepmother, lets him know what it is. Yo, there was one point, I was a New York Presbyterian with a inflamed heart. I was a New York Presbyterian and my heart was in flames because my pituitary gland was messing up my thyroid, unbeknownst to me. So shout out to that man, that I'm not gonna say his name, who I was on a date with, and he encouraged me to go to the hospital. Shout out to him because, yo, listen, you gotta know me. I got high pain tolerance. Like, yo, the other day I was on my menstrual cycle and my stomach was hurting and I would not take a Tylenol. So, because my pain, I don't like taking medicine. I take it because I have to, but I'm not a big fan of taking medicine. So, like, you know, I would have lived with that headache all my life if he didn't say. I would have just kept on popping Tylenol and I would have kept it moving. But he was like, nah, you need to go to the hospital, bro. So long story short, I find out that I have, you know, a pituitary gland and I'm going to go blind if I don't get it handled. And I'm in a complete freaking panic. I'm like, blind? What? I need to see out here. So I come up with a plan. I'm like, you know what? They're saying that if you have to do a surgery. Like, they were saying that they had to go on my head and they had to go through my nose and pluck the tumor out of my pituitary gland. I know pluck is the wrong word, but that's what I heard, shit. But. So, long story short, they told me that the downtime would be around like 6 months. So I was like, you know what? I live by myself. I was transitioning into a different space. And we're gonna talk about how I had a whole brothel in my house. That's a whole other episode. But listen, there was a time where your girl was getting some paper out here. And both ways, legally, illegally. So, yo, that's a fact. So, like, we're gonna talk about the brothel in a different episode, what I had going on. But, you know, like, I was in transition, and so I was like, you know what, let me just go home real fast, which home is North Carolina. I'm gonna go home real fast, and I will, you know, like, get it done and come back to New York because I still got this breast cancer event with Cameron going on, so I can't just leave this, right? Man, nigga. Again, listening to my brother, and I'm not blaming him, I'm just saying. My first idea was to stay here. I was like, yo, I should stay here. And my first reason was because I'm like, yo, first of all, I got insurance out here. So, like, if I go to North Carolina, because my show was about politics when I did Facebook. When I did my Facebook Live through Doggy Diamonds, my show was about politics. So I knew about how different social programs work. What I didn't know was that, yo, if you leave New York, that Obamacare is, even though it's federally distributed, it is a state program. So you can't have insurance, and it's like food stamps. You can't have food stamps in New York and go use it in North Carolina. It's the same thing with Obamacare. So I expressed that to him. I said, yo, I'm gonna lose my insurance. No, you're not. You're not gonna lose your insurance. That's not how that works. You can still get insurance in North Carolina. Blase. Again, I listened, and I was wrong. I go home, and I lose my insurance. And my father makes too much money for me to even get Obamacare. So I go, and I'm walking around with this tumor in my head. Hormones all messed up, throwing up, sick, weak, lethargic, with this tumor in my head. Now people say, oh man, she's lazy. She's flaky. She ain't about nothing. She's not shit. But while I had this tumor in my head, I went and got a job. Now I want to digress real fast about something I did do wrong before we go into that part of the chapter. And we're going to end this and we're going to do a part 2. What I did wrong, like I said about Doggy, is how I left. I didn't make people informed. I'm gonna keep it real. I didn't inform Cam. I didn't inform other people about what was happening. Because what people don't understand was, I'm a pretty private person. I'm not really, I'm big on sacredness. I've always been big on sacredness. That's something that if you mess with me, you're gonna get automatically. Like even me doing this podcast and saying all these people's names, it feels uncomfortable, but I had to come to a solution or a resolution and a conclusion that this is my story. Everything I'm saying happens. Every person I'm mentioning knows me. So it's not as if I'm concocting a story out of my ass, just saying anything. This is my story, and this is how my lane of memory looks like. This is my memory lane. And I'm just giving my contribution to the conversation that everyone is having already. People speak about me constantly and consistently. They paint pictures about me regularly. It's my time to speak and speak up for myself. So what I will say is that I was wrong about how I exited the situation. I should have been a little bit more informative about what was happening. And I will hold myself fully accountable for that. I'm not gonna project that on anybody else. I'm not gonna blame anyone for that. Like, nah, that was on me. I could have picked up the phone and let people know, like, oh, this is happening. And maybe I didn't have to share what it was. I could have called and said, yo, can we postpone this or something? And I don't know if I did. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But, like, long story short, I know, like, you know, like, I could have did that. So I'm going to take full responsibility for that because that's on me. So I go to North Carolina, and I lose my insurance. And with the tumor on my head, I get a job. And for now on this episode, we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna stick a bookmark in that. Speaking of bookmarks, please go to THE.SMART.DUMB.GIRL.com and get your urban bookmark. We got bookmarks of Biggie Smalls, Muhammad Ali, Tupac Amaru Shakur, DMX, Kobe Bryant, Big L. Yo, bro. You know what I'm saying? Listen, Columbo. Go to THE.SMART.DUMB.GIRL.com, get your t-shirts. Yo, check out some smart poetry, all that vibe, all that jazz. We're gonna continue this episode on part 2 of a trip down memory lane. And I really hope people enjoyed this, got some information, you know, and we're gonna continue this conversation. I ain't gonna, you know, I don't wanna overwhelm y'all, but we're gonna give you part 2 about what happened when I went to North Carolina and then thus far, and how I ended up back in New York. All right, like I said, go to THE.SMART.DUMB.GIRL.com, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube, and yo, love yourself and love God.